Hey guys, Sophia here with Turquoise Toffee, and I'm back with another video. Today we're talking about the 2023 IFBB Pro League Sampson Showdown Pro Wellness and Pro Wellness Masters results. This was a smaller show, but extremely impressive and always super exciting to see the wellness girls getting a show just to themselves. And there were quite a few other contests already. I'm a little bit behind, but those recaps are coming. So stay tuned. They're uploading right away. Okay, so in terms of Olympia, I'm sure you guys know the drill by now. We've got a qualification period that started in November. It goes all the way through to October. There is no longer a tiered system. So the top 3 wellness athletes from last year's Olympia are qualified. And then after that, it is only the winner. So only one girl gets to go from this competition. And the Masters do not qualify for the Olympia. It's very exciting. They're doing a Masters Olympia this year, but that is a slightly different system. It's not the same qualification as this. Okay, so let's begin with the Open. Now, there were only 5 competitors, but they were all spectacular. In first place was Alexis, second place Haley, third Tammy, fourth Elizabeth, and 5th Tina. And the scores were pretty as expected when the judges are all unanimous. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So a very good show for Alexis. So here's Tina in 5th place. She's gorgeous. The red suit looks great with her dark hair. She's got beautiful skin, not a single flaw anywhere, just buttery, smooth. I think she looks really beautiful. She's got great size, but I do think that conditioning could have been way more, like tighter, more lines, more detail in the quads. I want to see that groove coming down the hip. I want to see even more of the 6-pack and more of the outline around the delts. I think on her own, she looks absolutely beautiful, but when you see her in the lineup next to our first place winner, it's definitely a little more conditioning would have been fantastic. But I think she's got great size. I like the amount of muscle she has in her arms. She's got beautiful curves. You really notice the roundness in her glute. And she's got nice size in the sweep of her quads as well. Beautiful proportions. Like, I think she looks great. Just a little bit more detail. Fantastic. Okay, next in 4th place was Elizabeth. And you can see she does have a little bit more conditioning. So you've got a bit more of those lines coming through. You've got some detail in her quads. The groove in her glute is a little bit more pronounced. Definitely a bit more detail coming through the outline of her delts. Her obliques look really chiseled, very flat stomach. So I'm loving that. I think her conditioning looks good. I do feel that she needs a bit more size to her upper body, the delts in particular, just to have a little bit more roundness and fullness up top. It doesn't have to be a perfect balance or a perfect match with the lower body, but I do find that she's quite petite compared to her amazing lower body. And then I also wouldn't mind if there was a little bit more roundness here to the top part of her glute. She's got a beautiful shape on the bottom where it connects with her hamstring, and I think her legs look fantastic. Great size, but just a little bit more of that muscle mass on the top. Overall, fantastic. Gorgeous suit. She looks beautiful. Okay, next in 3rd place is Tammy. I'm not in love with this pose for Tammy. I don't think it does her justice. I can tell that she's not really quite in the pose here either, but if this was her side pose, I would definitely want a little bit more lightness on this toe. Just raise the heel up, twist a little more in the shoulders so we can see the back shoulder more. And the reason I don't like this pose on Tammy is because I don't think it gives her enough size in the glute. She's got beautiful legs and a gorgeous shape. I love how round her glute is, and I think it's a good pose to show off how small her waist is. But when you see her in the lineup compared to the other girls, she doesn't look to have the same size in the glute as they do in this pose in particular. But I think her conditioning is fantastic. I love the line coming down her quad. I love that she has detail by her kneecap. You see all kinds of detail in her side. I think her delts look amazing. So overall, she looks really fantastic. The color of the suit is gorgeous on her, and it's such a perfect match to the backdrop with the color of the font. She looks beautiful. Maybe a bit more boldness in the makeup. Like I wouldn't have minded a more of a color on her lips, but I do think she looks fantastic. So either really pop that hip out more on this side pose or just keep working on growing the glutes even bigger. But I think she's spectacular and she looks really good from behind too. All right, next is Haley in second. So here is a very large glute. Particularly when we go from seeing our third place winner to now Haley in second, it's a significant difference in the size. So I think Haley really has a great amount of muscle in her lower body. Her glute is really large and beautiful size and shape to her legs. I think she's got a great balance, good proportions between the glute and the legs themselves. She's got a nice curve in her hamstrings, beautiful sweep to her quads. Her conditioning is good as well, so you've got a little bit of detail coming through here, bit of detail on her leg showing off the difference between the hamstring area and the quad area. You've got a nice amount of line in her delts, so she's got just beautiful detail coming through on her upper body. And I think the pose is pretty good. She's really showing off how small her waist is. I wouldn't mind if this shoulder could somehow come a little bit more forward just so that we can see the roundness of it a bit better. But she has very impressive delts, and I think in this lineup you could argue that she has the most impressive delts from a size perspective. Roundness, very, very beautiful. I think she looks very pretty. Her hair is lovely with that very prominent side part. You're still seeing through the curls to her body beneath it, so I don't mind that her hair is over top of her shoulder. And I just think overall she looks fantastic. She did a really great job. All right, now in first place, Alexis, who is so sensational. You remember her from the Arnold, where she surprised us all with her amazing fourth place win. She's just spectacular. And there's a few things I notice about Alexis. Number one, she's crazy consistent. Like she looks so similar to how she looked at the Arnold in the best way possible. Great conditioning, great posing. She's really showing off her tiny waist and just beautiful proportions. She's not the largest, she's not the tallest, she's not the biggest, but man, oh man, does she ever have great shapes. Beautiful curves in her arms. You notice the lat and the tininess of her waist. Gorgeous shape to her glute, and her quads are crazy. So with that, I have two things again to say. Number one, her conditioning is amazing. By far the best conditioning of all of these athletes on the stage. You have a lot of detail. You have an entire outline of her quad, crazy detail in the back leg, detail by the knee. Her obliques are like completely sharp, a little bit of the six-pack coming through that you see in that tiny flat stomach, and gorgeous shape to her arms. So, man, I think her conditioning is fantastic. The other thing, her posing is really different than everybody else. She does not put her leg super sideways, this front leg. Her toes are pointing way more to the front than you typically see. And it is so good for her. It really shows off the quad while still highlighting her beautiful glute. So she's doing an amazing job. I just think she looks fantastic. But definitely for me, her conditioning took her to another level in this lineup. Okay, so here's everybody side by side. Now, if you are new to my recap videos, I always look at the side pose for wellness. I am not a huge fan of the front pose for the comparison. I think it's a beautiful pose, but to see the glute, the hamstring, the sweep of the quad, the delts, the tiny waist, this is the pose for me. Now, I think everybody looks really spectacular, but you do see some of those differences. For example, Tammy definitely needs more size compared to, for example, Haley or Elizabeth. Even Alexis, her glutes look very large in this side pose. The delts, I'm really drawn to Haley. I think she's got a beautiful amount of size. I think Tina is standing a little too square to the front. I think it doesn't highlight her small waist as well as when the girls are a little bit more sideways. Now I'll show you a front pose. So you don't see as much of the full physique, but I think you do see here just how amazing Alexis's conditioning is. Her quads look fantastic, and man, does she have a lot of size. You really see her sweep. You really notice how small her waist is. I think she looks really fantastic. Haley beside her, I think, does well also in this pose. You really notice that beautiful S curvy shape. But man, it's a gorgeous top 5. Now from behind, Alexis to me has really good glute outline. So you see a gorgeous amount of curve at the top. She's got really sharp pointy tie-ins at the bottom. And you see a good difference between where the glutes are and the quad sweep and the inner thigh curve. I really like that for her. I think Tammy's conditioning from behind looks really good as well. You really notice her hamstrings. Haley, I notice her sweep and the size in her legs, but I don't think her glutes have as nice of an outline in terms of the shape like Alexis does. So to me, I'm drawn to Alexis. I think she really nailed it. Conditioning was perfect, beautiful shape. And wow, what a great top 5. And so Alexis is going to Olympia. So in terms of the Masters portion, it was essentially the same lineup of girls. You'll see for 35 plus in first place was Tammy, Elizabeth in second, and Tina in third. And then in the 40 plus, we had one more competitor, Alessandra. Otherwise, it was the same set of girls. Tammy in first, Alessandra in second, Elizabeth in third, and Tina in fourth. So I'm just going to show you Alessandra. Here she is. So second place in the 40 plus. She looks gorgeous. An amazing amount of size in her glute, in her leg. She's really, really leaning into it to really show off that size. I do find the posing is a little bit too much of a lean. Maybe she could straighten this leg a little more and just bring this foot out so that we can see the back leg. I find it's a bit hidden behind all of this amazing quad. But I do think she's got tremendous size and really nice conditioning in the front. You see good oblique. You see nice detail in her arms. This arm to me, because of the way she's popping her hip, she's unable to relax it a little more. I wouldn't mind if this could be a little bit more straight down rather than out to the corner. So that's just my view on it. A little bit different of a side pose, but I think she looks great. The hair could for sure be to the back just so that we see a little bit more of that detail in her upper body. But man, great size. And here's our lineup. This is the 40 plus. Again, you can see Tammy has a beautiful shape to her glute, but certainly when you have her next to Alexandra, Elizabeth, Tina, she could definitely have more size. But she has gorgeous arms, really nice detail to her obliques, and beautiful conditioning in her legs. When I show the front pose, this is where I think Tammy stands out in this lineup. I think she's posing really beautifully. You got a great view of her quads, a nice smallness to her waist, and a beautiful curve. I think Alessandra is way too square to the front. You got a great view of the detail in her quads, but you're not seeing her small waist and you're not really getting a good view of her glutes. Tina, I still think she needs more conditioning, and Elizabeth looks pretty darn good, great size, but even she could have a little bit more detail coming through. Now from behind, Tammy here steals the show. She's got really good outline, really good detail in her hamstrings. She looks lean. Her waist looks really small, and she looks like she has a very low body fat. I think Alessandra could have had a little bit more leanness coming through on the glutes, just to have a bit more of that perfectly outlined shape. Tina could have had a bit more definition as well. Elizabeth is pretty good. Her conditioning is not bad. You've got some good lines coming through on her hamstrings, some nice sweep, but definitely Tammy kind of steals the show from behind here. So that's it for my recap. We've got a lot more shows coming up in April. Something is happening every single weekend. So make sure you subscribe, give me a like if you like this video, comment below with your thoughts on these amazing wellness athletes, and come find me. I'm at turquoisetoffee.wordpress.com and of course on Instagram at turquoisetoffee.